Hi, it's Seavey and Perry on Culture. Todd Seavey and Gerard Perry. And Maleficent is one creepy yet fun bit of culture that's in theaters. A variant version of Sleeping Beauty, focusing more on the witch, kind of like Wicked, frankly. I guess that's safe to say. But instead of having big Broadway tunes, the only musical news I know about here is that Lana Del Rey has re-recorded the song Once Upon a Dream from the original Sleeping Beauty, and they're using that in Maleficent. And the only thing I have to say about Lana Del Rey is that I saw that Saturday Night Live performance she did that had people like enraged because they thought she was so awful, and I thought she was fine. I don't know, what were they expecting? Were they expecting like dance moves a la Paula Abdul or something? I mean, she has
something a bit more choreographed, I guess.
Yeah, she has this, sort of flat, slightly spooky delivery, and it seemed like she stood there kind of stiffly, exactly as you would expect if you listen to her music.
I thought that was part and parcel of her appeal, that she was one of these kind of, I guess similar to Lorde in a sense, one of these performing artists who attracted people based upon the fact that she was so bizarre, frankly, in her stage performance.
But kind of cold.
Yeah, cold and different.
As a lifelong new wave fan, I can't really complain about that. I thought she was fine. And yet there are all these people, including some celebrities, like immediately taking to Twitter, like, oh my God, it's the worst performance in the history of Saturday Night Live.
Well, even Kate Bush has her critics, so you can never... There's no counting for taste, I guess.
I think she's supposed to be doing another album, actually.
Yeah, it's the first album, I think, in how many decades, or
it might be like 10
centuries. I don't know.
Yeah. I hope it inspires. I rarely have shallow comments about the looks of celebrities. I think I'm pretty good about that most of the time. But I hope Kate Bush loses a little weight before the new album comes out, because frankly, she used to be a ballerina, literally a ballerina,
she's bulked up,
and now she looks like a middle-aged British woman. I don't know what happened. Something went wrong there. It's like she just gave up after the last album. But we're rooting for you. You're a genius if you're watching this.
Too many trips to Tesco, I guess.
You're still beautiful, and I just think, to achieve your full potential, maybe do a little more of the ballet, and lose a couple of the pounds. But the important thing is the music. Obviously. Speaking of beauty, though, Angelina Jolie looks fantastic, I must say, in the trailers for Maleficent. Like, so beautiful, it's creepy, kind of like Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings movies. So that should be good. I think she can pull it off.
So maybe she can be cast in the Hobbit Part 7 or 8.
That's right, yes. It'll be interesting to see how much we can predict the plot of Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. So it's sort of a revisionist take like Wicked, where we follow the villainess instead of the heroine. But presumably many of the details will be the same. And this is normally the point where I would say, oh, if you know anything, Gerard, don't tell me anything, because I hate spoilers. It's not the way the artist wanted the piece of art to be experienced, so don't tell me anything in advance I'm not supposed to know. However, in this case, the plot is 55 years old. Actually, maybe it's centuries old if you go back to some ancient Grimm's fairy tale I don't know anything about, but it's at least 55 years old if it's inspired by the previous Disney version, Sleeping Beauty. But you hold the radical position that spoilers are completely harmless and irrelevant.
I don't think that... I kind of agree with Stephen King. I don't think spoilers exist. I think it's more of a... I'm not going to say psychological defect, but it's something that people claim will ruin their experience of reading a particular piece of literature or seeing a film. But I don't think it has any negative impact whatsoever. In fact, there was a study by the University of California, San Diego, and I think this is the only scientific study devoted to exploring this issue, which proved that spoilers actually enhance the appeal of a particular work of art.
What?
Yes,
I find that hard to believe. But it's interesting that Stephen King, who I know you're very fond of, agrees on this issue, because I would think horror, if anything, would be most weakened by spoilers, because a lot of the power of horror comes from the suspense, not knowing, is he going to escape? Is the monster in there? I would think that's exactly when spoilers would be damaging, no?
I don't think so. I'm willing to make, for the sake of argument, I'm willing, I guess... we could agree that suspense or thrillers, the type of novels or stories that would hinge upon the next discovery of who the villain is or who's responsible for the murder. I guess that would be the one area where I'm willing to make a concession just for the sake of argument, even though I don't even agree that those spoil the experience, that those ruin the experience of someone reading that particular work. But there's just a number of problems I have with the entire psychology of spoilers. One of them being the fact that they impose, it's basically someone else imposing their particular mental quirk or point of view, as you would call it, on another person. I have no problem if I'm in the company of people who believe like you that you can spoil a particular work by divulging a certain plot point, of agreeing just to be polite. I would agree not to do that in your company, but I don't see why that rule should be imposed across the board in any sort of public venue over the internet but it's kind of like if I'm invited to the house of a Jehovah's Witness or a Georgian or someone who believes in Freudian psychology, I'm willing to not insult their particularly demented way of looking at the universe, but I don't think that means when I leave their home that I should refrain from any critique of Freudian psychology.
What about like a mystery novel? I mean, like, don't the writers construct mystery novels precisely so that the reader will be wondering, how does this turn out? So if you tell them in advance, then, kind of, it's like it undoes the puzzle or the magic trick.
Well, I've had a conversation with a mutual friend who insists that a Song of Ice and Fire, which is the book analog to the television show Game of Thrones.
Don't spoil anything from Game of Thrones. Okay.
But I'm going to spoil the conversation we had. Basically, he admitted that he was adamant that a particular book or part of a book was spoiled because he had read a synopsis, which I don't agree. I think it's more of a kind of an emotional reaction. I don't think that if you sat down and analyzed how you felt about a particular novel or movie and what sort of enjoyment you derive from that work of art, that you would really feel that it was spoiled. It imputes,
not entirely, but maybe a little.
It imputes too much, I think, to plot. The fact that is why people, and I think plot is important, but I think it attributes way too much to plot and plot details than you should when you're looking at a work of literature or film.
My lovely ex-girlfriend Melinda accidentally learned something from a future Game of Thrones plot. It's in one of the later Song of Ice and Fire books, and now she's like bursting at the seams to reveal that to at least one other person, possibly me. Of course, I'm totally opposed because I don't want to know. She's like, but it's so horrible. I have to tell you what happens, but I don't want to hear it.
But you never know. That might not even crop up in the television series. There's already been so many radical departures from the books that...
this is true, but still, I don't want to risk it. In fact, I actually complained to one of our fellow libertarians, Camille Foster, from Fox's The Independents, about the fact that he divulged a Game of Thrones spoiler on the show, and apparently a lot of people were complaining about it and even tweeting at them that this was inappropriate.
And now he's the object of a slap lawsuit in Washington D.C. No,
that's right. No. But and I was not one of the people who tweeted to complain about the spoiler, but I thought about it for a second. Anyway,
you thought about complaining.
Oh well, but I'll keep watching the show, and hopefully you'll keep watching Seavey and Perry on Culture. And join us again here at the Lock Yard, this lovely bar in Brooklyn. See you next time.